And welcome back to Conservative News on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to take another look at West Virginia. I know a lot of you were very angry when I gave this a blue. We're going to talk about why I originally gave it a blue and where we're going to change it to today. So let's go ahead and get on with it. We're going to start with a recent poll just came out about Kavanaugh. And what you're seeing here is very, very heavy support for Kavanaugh in West Virginia. Now, the fact that Manchin has been largely trying to duck under the radar, support Democrats without upsetting constituents by coming out against Kavanaugh, it's causing him a real problem at home. And with the levels of support, even from Democrats, look at that, 43% of Democrats support Kavanaugh. That's bad. 81% of Republicans, and I think that's low. 62% of independents, I believe that. But the whole point here being that this is going to create a major headwind for Manchin coming into the election cycle. And that's why we're going to revisit West Virginia today. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what's going on the ground. Now, as I told you, remember the first video I showed you and proved that polls are cooked to give people impressions that are inaccurate. And I proved that very well. And I also told you back then that during this stage of the election cycle, the Democrats always rush up 10, 12, 14 points. Now they've done the same thing here with Manchin. And basically you would think, Mitch, you already had it blue. Why would you consider changing it to anything else with it moving in this direction? Well, let me explain. The previous polls and backwards, he was running at 50% or at 48%. Keep in mind there's a large group of undecided in West Virginia, and the reason I had to give it blue was he was either at 58% or at 48%. When you take the traditional swing against the incumbent from those undecideds, it still put him over 50%. Now, what we're looking at here recently is all of a sudden he's dropped to 46%, he's dropped to 45%, and typical of the polling agencies, Donald Trump came and put on a show for Patrick Morrisey, and they're basically saying, well, in the face of Trump coming to West Virginia, his support is dropping. That is BS. I'm guessing right now Morrisey is probably in the 43 to 45 range, which tells me that this is probably a too close to call race. But there's something wrong with that picture too. When you start thinking about the large number of undecideds, in the last poll I saw that was 17%, what that tells you is that when they break for Morrisey, they're probably independents that are going to break conservative. They usually do to one party or the other by about a 75-25 margin. Well, Manchin is no longer able with his 25% to get over the 50% mark. And as a result, right now, probably too close to call is highly accurate, but because of the break that we expect from undecided voters, I'm actually going to say that this race now tilts very slightly in favor of the GOP. I don't think the coming week is going to allow Manchin even to vote for Kavanaugh, and even if he does, I think it'll be way too little, way too late. As a result, we're going to go back to the map. We're going to come to West Virginia. Toss up if you just take it for what it is, but leans right when you consider the undecided voter is going to break Republican. So I now believe West Virginia has come to a stage where it is going to move to the Republican camp. I also want you to notice up here with our calls as they stand, the GOP now has 58 seats. We have possibly 59 here in New Jersey. These two races, I'm not ready to take away and give it to an R or a D at the moment, although in Ohio, I'm probably very slightly leaning to the Democrat. In Wisconsin, I'm probably the same place at this point, but I don't think that the polls have matured enough, especially at this time, to make a call. What I think is going to be interesting as we head to election, in the event Kavanaugh gets an up or down vote on the floor next week after the FBI investigation, which I disagree with, by the way, I think that will cement the Republicans across the country to make sure that they get to the polls. And I think the red wave is going to be far more powerful than I think anyone is capable of understanding at this time, and that includes me. I look at these polls where the Hispanic community is shifting in favor of the GOP. I look at the polls where women, even though they're still supporting Democrats, are shifting in favor. And you look at all these pillars of the Democratic Party, and they are losing support in those pillars. Are any of them a sea change? No. But they're big enough that when you add all those votes up nationwide, oh my God, if those polls are anywhere near accurate, it's going to be amazing. And I think the black community, it's going to be most interesting. 36% support for Donald Trump, and I haven't heard any reductions in that number. It's going to be amazing. There's going to be an awful lot of Democrats that nobody expects to lose who are going to lose. And as we've seen in the past, when waves take place, safe people on the other side lose their seats. So there's no telling how many of those safe seats that you're looking at right now. In fact, I'd say one of them is right here in Pennsylvania, and the other one's right here in Minnesota. The Democrat incumbent is only polling about 7 points ahead of the Republican. And at this time, that should look more like West Virginia in 8 to 12 range. When you take that decline that's going to take place into the final election, she's probably going to drop to 2 or 3 points ahead, and that would suggest that that seat is going to turn red. In fact, I think I'm going to go ahead and change that right now to toss-up. So the election continues to move in favor of the GOP, mostly due to disinterest on the part of millennials, also including black support moving to the GOP, even though they will still vote in overwhelming numbers for Democrats. It just won't be the landslide 95% that we've been seeing in traditional election cycles. So things really are getting good. I am just hoping that the Republican Party, through the course of Kavanaugh's confirmation, does not blow their foot off and upset enough Republicans not to come to the polls. They have to have that floor vote and let the chips fall where they may. Even if he's voted down, at least the American people will know who to kick out of Congress. That floor vote is darned important. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, we are new. We are continuing to grow. We're hoping that you guys will like, subscribe, and go ahead and share us on social media so that people can find us. With that said, I'll see you in the next video.